past 24 months. Ashwagandha, many of you take it every day. The exports of ashwagandha increased by 240%, all in this lockdown. Brand names like Walmart, Costco, Nestle, Procter & Gamble, they all launched it. Another one, you all use Chyawanprash. Its sales went up 700% during the lockdown. So if you think, and then we have the Giloy, and then we have the Tulsi, and you put it all in together, what you are coming up with is how it is now the center of the world, and which is where India has a big part to play. You know, in my notes for this evening, the team had asked me also to it's not just Karnataka, Delhi, Gujarat, Telangana. Cities like Pune and Ahmedabad are obviously key cities, but I'll tell you which are the other emerging ones. Bhubaneswar, Patna, Thane, Lucknow, Jaipur, Surat, Indore, Vadodara, Raipur, Mohali, Kolkata. The new cities, the new smaller towns and cities of India are taking it on. And ma'am, you were clapping for Kolkata. Let me tell you what you will really be happy for. 51% of these recognized startups have at least one woman director. This is where, you know, the gender strength and diversity of India in the mix, which is taking on the new role of innovation, has taken it very well. And let me just, in my end, before I conclude, share with you the top subsectors where innovation and startups are happening. The top of the chart, health and wellness, impacts every one of you. And I hope you had a chance to walk through the startup exhibition. There's some amazing solutions. I've walked through it myself, which you will be utilizing on a daily basis. Healthcare services, medical devices, biomedical, pharmaceutical, and finally, healthcare technology. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the evening where you will discuss how India takes on its due role as being the global leader, and what is something which we talk back from our 10,000 years and we take it ahead for the next 100 years. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your encouraging words, Mr. Bagla, and welcoming the industry to explore opportunities and invest in the Ayush and wellness sector. For investors, Invest India will be your partner throughout your investment journey and facilitate your business plans in India. I'm pleased to now welcome Shri Anurag Sharma, Honorable Member of Parliament, to deliver his special remarks.
Good evening to all of you. I'm very pleased to see the Honorable Minister for Ayush from Uttar Pradesh, Shri Dayashankar Mishra ji, Dayalu ji. Dayalu ji, आपका बहुत बहुत हार्दिक स्वागत है अहमदाबाद में। सर पहली बार आयुष की ऐसे मीटिंग में आए हैं, तो ये चाहूँगा कि आप हमेशा आयुर्वेद और आयुष पे आपका विशेष रूप से आशीर्वाद बना रहे. All my friends of the dais, Sori ji, Deepak Bhai sir, my dear friend Arvind, Ranjit is still typing away his speech, I presume, and Vijay Chautala ji. Chautala ji. Today is a red letter day for Ayurveda in all senses of the word. Today, when we heard the Prime Minister speak, he's actually laid out an entire roadmap for Ayurveda. And today you've seen how a government can actually move and get things done when it's interested in getting things done. For so many years, we've been trying our best to get various governments to give Ayurveda its due. But the first time it happened, I remember, was when the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, gave us a separate department. And that's the first time when we actually had him go to the US and talk about Ayurveda. The next happened when the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, created a separate mantralaya. And we had Shripad Yasho Naik ji as our mantri. Today you don't only have an MOS, you also have a cabinet ranking minister running the Ayush Mantralaya. And I'm actually very grateful for the first time we're seeing in one of the ministries that it's run by a Ved, not an IS officer, because there is a lot more a Ved brings on. It's not getting against the other secretaries, but what a Secretary Ayush brings on today to the table is two very important things. One, in-depth core knowledge of Ayush, and secondly, I'm always very proud of the fact कि राजेश कुटेजा जी हमेशा अपने नाम के साथ वैद्य लिखते हैं. उससे मुझे दिल में बहुत विशेष रूप से खुशी होती है. Opportunities and the way forward we were here to discuss. Today, when we all live under the shadows of this pandemic, where it's destroyed our lives, it's destroyed countries and their economies, when we've all noticed how the world has changed, and when no one single pathy had an answer, and especially during the second wave, where no one system of medicine could claim that they were delivering. That's when all the Ayush systems stepped up and they were able to largely deliver India away from the pandemic. There was a huge amount of work done in the Ayush sector. And the other important thing which happened during the pandemic was कि सबसे महत्वपूर्ण चीज जो इसमें हुई वो ये हुई कि everybody became patient centric. We were not looking at systems of medicines, we were looking at patients. So today that's the way forward. If you really ask me which is the way forward, is to actually make every system of medicine, whether it's chemical-based medicines, whether it's herbal-based medicines, whether it's faith-based medicines, you have to have the patient at the center. We've all today seen the Prime Minister give us the way forward. We've actually noticed that the Indian soft power, and especially our knowledge, he is equating today Ayush with the knowledge-based industry. Today, if our knowledge-based industries, especially IT, can actually rule the world, we actually can do that with the traditional Indian knowledge. Today, we have the scope, we have the science, and we have the companies willing to invest, companies willing to go forward, and we have a government which is actually pushing for us to move one step forward every day. So I'm very happy to see this. The other thing is creation of the Center for Traditional Medicine by WHO in India. Today, when there is a large overlap between what we think is traditional knowledge, what we think of Ayurveda or Siddha or homeopathy, we really need this quantified and qualitatively researched. Today, the only really lacking system which we find is the adoption of modern diagnostic tools and methods as far as Ayurveda industry is being concerned. And I'm happy to say, since I represent as a chair of FICCI Ayush committee, that during the last pandemic, we actually saw the government push us and we were able to deliver scientific solutions to the pandemic. And I'm very happy to say, with the support of the Ayush Mantralaya, with the support of ICMR, we've had the first trials begin. First trials, scientific trials begin on COVID-19, and they were very largely successful. I would actually like to compliment all the companies here. They all did individual trials, they published the trials. These were peer-reviewed trials, published in high-impact journals, including my own company did it. I represent a company, ladies and gentlemen, called Vedanath. It's a 103-year-old company. So we also did our trials. And for the first time, we actually got permission from the ICMR to hold trials with medical colleges and with universities. Since the Honorable Minister is also here, I would also like to share something with you, that the Honorable Chief Minister of UP, Shri Maharaj Ji Yogi Adityanath Ji, has opened an Ayush university and a college. It was my pleasure and my good luck to actually be there. Some days ago, we've inducted our first 100 students in Gorakhpur, and you have to believe the university to see it. It's state of the art and such open learning that I was amazed. So today, since you're from Invest India, sir, let me actually put in a couple of words. What's next in future trends? The Honorable Prime Minister acknowledged 3 young ladies today for doing exemplary work as far as new technologies, new methods of taking Ayurveda forward. I'm happy to actually tell the audience here that during his Mann Ki Baat, he did mention about 2 of my companies. One is called Kapiva, which is from my family, and the other one is called Pure Veda. Both these companies also operate in the new emerging trends as far as Ayurveda is concerned. Vedanath is more of a traditional Ayurvedic company, but Kapiva and Pure Veda have done tremendous amount of work in these new emerging fields of nutraceuticals and Ayurveda Ahar. The third very interesting trend which is going to start emerging and has emerged in the last 2-3 years, and I think it's going to be one of the most exciting sectors to be in Ayurveda, is herbal cosmeceuticals. Herbal cosmeceuticals, according to me, should, from India, in the next couple of years, really rule the world of cosmetics. Today, that's one of the fastest growing segments, and Ayurveda Saundarya, which I've been repeatedly asking the Ayush Mantralaya to actually codify and get our students to learn, would be another very large export-based industry from India. One of my companies called Mantra is in that space, and I'm happy to come back and say that over 90% of the people who work at Mantra are young ladies. So we are trying our best to empower women. The other thing which we really need to actually do is to really work on securing our raw material supply chains. The challenge which the industry faces, and I've been talking to the industry leaders here today, the challenge which the industry faces is securing good supply chain. If you do not get a good supply chain, that means right from seed to cultivation to harvesting, post-harvesting technologies, and education. If that is not secure, the future of Ayurveda to grow will always be hampered and there will always be difficulties. Very happy to also come back and say that the first time we've actually seen, because मैं इसको हिंदी में कहूँगा, मोदी सरकार की जो सोच है बहुत व्यापक है, बहुत वाइड है, द विजन इज लार्ज। तो ये हो रहा है कि मोदी जी ने खाली ये नहीं सोचा है कि आयुर्वेद को दुनिया में लेके जा रहा है, WHO को यहाँ लेके आना है, दूसरे देशों के साथ हमको एक टाई अप करना है, और यहाँ तक सोची गई ये बात कि हमको उगाना क्या चाहिए और उसको कैसे आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। इसके लिए द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज एक्चुअली, I think, dedicated over 4,000 odd crores to the National Medicine Plant Board, and there is a large movement in UP for planting of medicines in the Indo-Gangetic plains and on the banks of the river Ganga. Today, when we actually also look at the traditional Ayurveda sectors of service industry, you all heard the Honorable Prime Minister today, and that was one of the things which really made my day, was saying we will have Ayush visas. Imagine the boost it will give to the tourism in this country. You will have a Kerala model, not only based out of Kerala, you will have a Kerala model right from Uttarakhand to the Sundarbans, to the northeast. There are a lot of our technicians and a lot of our people are learning Ayurveda. So the way forward for the industry is really going to be that all of us get together and encourage younger people, because Ayurveda is going to be entering its golden years from now. When we look back 20 years from now and we look back to the days today, we will say this was probably the start of the golden era of Ayurveda and India taking its knowledge to the world. हर मायने में हिंदुस्तान को अगर विश्व गुरु बनाना है तो हमको अपनी संस्कृति, अपना आयुर्वेद, इसका प्रचार प्रसार दुनिया भर में करना पड़ेगा। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ थैंक यू सो मच फॉर गिविंग मी अ पेशेंट हियरिंग। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you for your deeply encouraging words, sir. On behalf of all, I wish to express our gratitude to you for gracing this session with your presence. I strongly believe that this encouragement and assurance testifies the importance that the government places on Ayush and wellness. May I please invite on stage Professor Sanjeev Sharma to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers. May I request Professor Sharma to present this memento to Shri Anurag Sharma. May I request Professor Sharma to present this memento. May I request Professor Sharma to present this memento to Shri Deepak Bagla. We are pleased to announce the signing of 3 MOUs during this historic first of its kind summit. I invite on stage Dr. Anupam, Director Rashtriya Ayurveda Vidyapeeth, which is the National Academy of Ayurveda under Ministry of Ayush, and Professor Dr. Shakti Kumar Gupta, Executive Director and CEO of All India Institute of Medical Science, AIIMS Vijaypur, Jammu, to exchange this MOU on interdisciplinary research and cooperation, capacity building, and exchange of scientific know-how. I invite on stage Padma Shri Dr. Subrata Das, co-founder, Lifeline Foundation, Vadodara, to exchange this MOU with Rashtriya Ayurveda Vidyapeeth on capacity building for Ayush teachers, doctors, exchange of information, training for students, clinicians, and researchers, promotion of services in India and overseas. I invite Mr. V. Srinivasan, Director, Heartfulness Institute, to exchange the MOU on capacity building for Ayush teachers, doctors, exchange of information, training for students, clinicians, and researchers, promotion of services in India and overseas. Thank you. I'm pleased to now welcome Mr. Arvind Varchasvi, Managing Director, Sri Sri Tattva, to share his insights with the August gathering.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Sri Deepak Baglaji, Sri Anurag Sharma ji, Mr. R.S. Sodhi ji, Ranjit Puranik ji, Dr. Vijay ji, Dr. Dayashankar ji, Professor Sanjeev Sharma ji, dignitaries of the dais, Honorable Secretary Sri Rajesh Kotecha ji, Special Secretary Pramod Kumar Pathak ji, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends. It's a pleasure to share the dais with such erudite people here today. Today marks a fantastic day in the entire Ayush sector, and it's my pleasure to be sharing the dais with such wonderful people and also this audience here today. I've put up a couple of slides to share with you on our topic today. That's the Ayush Global Industry Prospects, investment opportunities, the industry size, projections, and regulatory aspects and export products and services. I put up a short presentation that would take me about 5 to 6 minutes to run you through. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I'll do that. So today we've seen that the entire Ayush industry is about 18 billion. We've seen that there's a whole lot of growth that's happening in this particular sector. We've seen it grow also with the Indian market. We've seen that there's a lot of MOUs that have been signed across with very eminent and prestigious institutions. We've also seen that Ayush has been growing the last few years, right from products and services. What does this really showcase? It showcases that there is a lot of interest, solid interest, not only whether it's in India, it's also across the world that people would like to imbibe and make Ayush as a part of their own lifestyle. Let me give you a little bit about Sri Sri Tattva that I represent. Sri Sri Tattva is inspired by Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji, a global humanitarian. A little bit about what the entire organization does is that we champion the cause of this 5,000-year-old science, being Ayurveda. We have more than 35 plus years in mastery into this. We ensure that there is quality, stringent protocol that's maintained with regards to both quality of products and services. We also see that we give back to society. A portion of our profits go back and help the Art of Living initiatives as well worldwide. And one thing that what we really champion across is that we ensure that all the people in the organization also do yoga and meditation, and we give them time during office hours to actually meditate. And this is also something that what we champion across with regards to the aspect that it's not only about the medicine, but also in the way that how it is presented. Like we say, Vaidyo Narayana Harihi here in our system. So what does it mean is that the person also who's giving is also divine. So this is something that what we emulate in our company as well. So now moving to the next slide. Yeah. So as an organization, we have more than 1,500 plus products in our street, right from food to personal care to skincare to home care, apparels, and also healthcare when it comes to Ayurveda. All our products are inspired by Ayurveda. We have our presence in more than 54 countries to date across 6 continents, and we have a committed team across the globe. This is something that what I really would like to champion here today is the certifications. A whole lot of discussion happens that Ayush needs to be recognized globally, Ayurveda needs to be recognized globally. One thing that what I would like to mention across to industry members here is that there is an opportunity for you to be recognized even today, as long as you ensure that you conform to all these strict protocols that what the relevant regulatory bodies of those particular countries take on. Today, I'm very, very happy to note that our Honorable Prime Minister also sounded the bugle that we would have our own ISO standards for the Ayush systems. I'm very happy to also share with all of you is that the Ministry of Ayush has already championed a mark called the Ayush mark. There's an Ayush standard mark for local or national produce, and the Ayush premium mark for the export produce. Now, this is something that what industry really needs to imbibe in their own in their own production as well as in their own products, because this is something that what the world really wants, and it's for us to champion. So right, if you were to see Shrishi Tattva, right, has the Canadian site license. We also are recognized as a herbaceutical by the Ministry of Health in Oman. We're the first also to get the ANMAT GMP as far as in Argentina, and we also have that of a herbaceutical right from Dubai. So the world is waiting for you as long as you take this first step to see that your products and services are recognized. Today, our doctors also, when they practice across in a place like Oman, they also write bridge exams and are also treated as doctors over there in the relevant countries. I encourage the Ministry of Ayush to really see that through the MOUs that what they're signing, more such aspects are taken care for our doctors, because it's not only the products that what need to be registered, but also the respect of our doctors also need to be maintained, and including therapists, if I may say so here. Can I go to the next slide? Okay. One particular thing that what I would like to mention is that there are standards for Panchakarma centers. So our centers are also NABH accredited, not only here, but across the country. Our presence, as what I mentioned to you, we're there in more than 54 countries and 6 continents. Some of the prominent countries where our products are recognized either as medicines or as herbaceuticals or as dietary supplements in some places that where you need to register them. These are, some of our footprint here to date. So what are the opportunities here? What are the opportunities that lie here? The first is that the natural products can offer safe and inexpensive treatments. Now, people are always looking for something natural. They would like to see that they take care of their own lifestyle. People don't want to have only symptomatic cures. They'd like to go to the root cause, that what some of our previous speakers also mentioned. So this is something that what the entire Ayush system can champion. And this is something that what we must champion across right from industry. Plant-based medicines can provide solutions. There was a myth saying that no, plant-based solutions cannot, plant-based medicines cannot provide solutions. They're only they're only to take care for you temporarily. They are not a solution, but this is a myth. And especially during COVID times, we've seen that a whole lot of plant-based medicine have been repurposed as COVID-19 medicines. And this is something that what we really need to give a very serious thought to. The next is that Panchakarma treatments for holistic well-being. People really want holistic well-being. It's not only about physical wellness, it's also about mental wellness. And that's where India can really champion. One data point that what I would like to share with all of you here is that during COVID times, the Google search words, the number 1 and number 3 searched was Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji's meditations during the lockdown for mental wellness. Now, what does this really mean? People are really searching for solutions also for mental wellness. It's just not about feeling good physically, but mental well-being also needs to be addressed, and the Ayush systems definitely address these aspects. The next is that, as what I mentioned to you, that a holistic aspect of both physical and mental well-being. Now, what are some of the challenges that what especially the sector faces when it comes internationally? There are no set timelines for product registration. Some countries take 1 month, some countries take 15 days, some countries take 6 months, some countries take more than a year. And this is out of experience over here is what we're mentioning from industry side. So that's where the welcome step that what has been taken across from the ministry is the setting up of the Ayush Export Promotion Council. And this is something that what from industry we really urge to the ministry to ensure that this becomes a single window clearance sort for industry to also register products and services, whether it is only not only to bring in other countries to come with their own drug regulatory authorities. It's also to ensure that we also register our doctors also, through this particular export sector. So apart from that, we also have multiple ingredient formulations. These formulations need to be made easier to register. This is something, and there are no defined regulations for services overseas. This is something that what we really need to take care and champion. Some of the solutions that what we would ensure is to consider Ayush as a separate category, not only a champion it as a dietary or a food supplement, but open across a separate category, especially in the international audience, recognition of our pharmacopoeias mutually, and also ensuring that Ayush is a part of the FTAs. And this is something that what I would really congratulate our Honorable Secretary, that a whole lot of FTAs that are being signed by the Commerce Ministry, Ayush is also a part of them right now. Equivalent status to be given as the same of the country of origin. If the Ayush systems are there from India, the same sort of recognition needs to be given across to countries. And we could start off with perhaps SAARC, ASEAN, or BRICS countries over here. Then communication on labels needs to be allowed for minor ailments, especially worldwide, because people are either bench sitters or they do not know what the entire science is about. We need to educate them. And that's where a little bit more on label claims would definitely help the industry. And last but not the least, it's very important for us to champion the entire Ayush systems as a part of our own educational system. We've seen that a whole lot of comic books are coming in, but it is very, very imperative for the entire science to thrive and go forward, and also to invite long-term investment. People really need to be educated about the system. So I urge the ministry to make the entire Ayush systems and also the knowledge of herbs, products and services as a part of the mainstream educational system, right from perhaps say standard 4 or 5, because as a person, what really stays in mind is what memories come from childhood, saying that if I get hurt, do I put turmeric or do I put something chemical on myself? Now, this is something that if I were to put turmeric when I was very small, my brain is automatically tuned to say that, all right, I would use turmeric. And thereby knowing about your own system of medicine, this is something that what China has done. I feel that we should not be left far behind and see that we do this immediately. And I really am very happy that the ministry has taken some steps towards this. This will go a very, very long way. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Today is a very great day, a momentous day for entire industry as well as government. Let's really take the entire Ayush systems forward and ensure that it gets its rightful place. It's a 5,000-year-old science, but it's championed by the youngest ministry and perhaps the youngest industry as well. So this is something that what I wanted to share across with all of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vachasvi, for this insightful presentation. I invite Professor Sanjeev to present a token of appreciation to Shri Arvind Vachasvi. I would now request Mr. R.S. Sodhi, Managing Director, Amul, to share his valuable inputs on Ayush-based food products.
नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग। आदरणीय श्री मंत्री जी श्री दयाशंकर मिश्रा जी, श्री अनुराग शर्मा जी, श्री दीपक बागला जी, श्री रंजीत पुरानिक, डॉक्टर विजय एंड रहतो नहीं क्या, हाँ, श्री अरविंद जी। देखिए मैं हिंदी में बोल लेता हूँ। आयुष मंत्रालय ने जो आयुष जर्नी शुरू किया उसमें अमूल का क्या योगदान रहेगा, हमारे उसके बारे में क्या विचार है, और हमारी पूरी जो सप्लाई चेन है जिसको हम C2C कहते हैं, काउ टू कंज्यूमर, और B2C बफेलो टू कंज्यूमर, उसमें आयुष का क्या रोल है, क्या महत्व है, उसके बारे में बताऊंगा। देखिए अमूल आपके मालूम है इस वक्त भारत की सबसे बड़ी फूड और डेयरी कंपनी है, 61,000 करोड़ की, पर ये इसके ओनर्स, अभी मुझे लिफ्ट में कोई बोल रहे थे जी आप तो बहुत बड़ी कंपनी के मालिक हो। मैंने कहा मैं मालिक नहीं, मैं नौकर हूं 36 लाख किसानों का। तो 36 लाख किसान इस कंपनी के मालिक हैं। तकरीबन 3 करोड़ लीटर दूध प्रतिदिन इसको हम प्रोसेस करते हैं 94 प्लांट्स में। और ये जो सप्लाई चेन है हमारी C2C, जो ट्रांजैक्शन, एक तरफ 36 लाख किसानों से डेली 2 बार दूध लेते हैं, 10,000 टैंकर से करोड़ों लोगों पे पहुंचाते हैं। देखिए ये तो हो गया अमूल के बारे में। अभी अगर आप देखें कि आयुष का, मैं फूड इंडस्ट्री में क्या महत्व है। फूड इंडस्ट्री पिछले साल तक 40 लाख करोड़ की, पर थैंक टू दी वर्ल्ड मार्केट इस बार जो इन्फ्लेशन आया है 50 लाख करोड़ की हो गई है। और भारत में सबसे कम ग्रो इन्फ्लेशन है महंगाई का। उसमें तकरीबन डेयरी जो है अभी 8.5 लाख करोड़ की है। अब फूड में टोटल ऑर्गेनाइज जो सेक्टर है वो तकरीबन 5 लाख करोड़ का है। मैं इसलिए फिगर देना चाहता हूं, जो अभी मैंने FSG कंक्लेव में बोला कि अगर आयुष को हमको महत्व देखना हो, अगर फूड इंडस्ट्री में ही जो अभी 5 लाख करोड़ की है, अगर हम सिर्फ 5% भी आयुष प्रोडक्ट में आए, व्हेन आई से आयुष मींस knowingly, I'll talk there are unknowingly आयुष प्रोडक्ट सोल्ड, लोगों को महत्व नहीं पता कि हम आयुष प्रोडक्ट है, वो मैं अभी बताऊंगा। तो तकरीबन तकरीबन 25,000 करोड़ का पहले 1-2 साल में बिजनेस हो सकता है, और बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्री बन सकती है। अगर आप देखें अमूल के अभी तक की जर्नी के बारे में, नंबर 1 कंपनी फूड में बता ही दिया, पर फॉर्चुनेटली जो हमारा मेन इंग्रेडिएंट है दूध, वो सदियों से इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर माना जाता है और एक पार्ट ऑफ आयुष प्रोडक्ट माना जाता है। और इसके जो प्रोडक्ट है, चाहे घी या चाय, ये बिल्कुल आयुर्वेदा से लिंक किया हुआ है। पिछले हजारों सालों से कोई भी वेदा में उठाइए, आपको घी के बेनिफिट मिलेंगे, वो मैं आगे आपको बताऊंगा। अगर देखिए घी अगर देखा जाए, हम लोगों को मालूम नहीं कि हम अपने पूरे डेयरी में यूज करते हैं। पूरे विश्व में अगर देखा जाए, योगा जिस तरह से फेमस हो गया है, घी एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है, जैसे इटली ने अपने ऑलिव ऑयल को वर्ल्ड पे डाला, आज के यंगस्टर उस तरफ जा रहे हैं कि हेल्थ वाइज बेनिफिट है। कनाडा भी पीछे नहीं रहा, उन्होंने कनोना ऑयल का प्रमोशन शुरू कर दिया। USA ने सोया का, और ऐसे ऐसे। तो हमारे पास एक इतना सॉलिड आयुष प्रोडक्ट है, जिसकी अगर महत्वता की बात करें, मतलब बेनिफिट्स की, आप सब लोग एक्सपर्ट है, आयुर्वेदिक एक्सपर्ट है, अगर शॉर्ट में मैं बताऊं, कोई हेल्थ केयर रिक्वायर्ड ऐसा कोई ऐसा बेनिफिट नहीं है जो इसमें ना हो। राइट फ्रॉम इसका नेचुरल एंटीऑक्सीडेंट का सबसे बड़ा सोर्स है, इसको खाने से लाइफ स्पैन बढ़ता है, आइस की पावर, जो आइस की जो शक्ति बढ़ती है, कंप्लेक्शन और स्किन ग्लो घी से होता है। आपके जो जॉइंट्स का जो लुब्रिकेशन के लिए घी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण पार्ट है। डाइजेशन, आप 1 चम्मच घी अगर खाने के साथ खा लीजिए, आपका डाइजेशन बहुत बढ़िया रहेगा। इम्यूनिटी बूस्टर तो है ही है, और सबसे बड़ा कि जो घी इज अ गुड सोर्स ऑफ फूड फॉर ब्रेन सेल्स। तो आपको अगर ब्रेन की क्षमता बढ़ानी है तो उसके लिए भी घी बहुत ही है। तो मैं ये चाहूंगा कि जितने भी फूड सेक्टर में, डेयरी में, आयुष मिश्री की एक प्रोडक्ट ऐसा है जो हमारे पास है, बास्केट में है, हमको विश्व को बताना है, उस पर करें। बाकी अमूल में हमने ये घी का जो हमने आपको बता दिया कि लिक्विड गोल्ड को ऑलरेडी हम 33 कंट्री में कर रहे हैं, पर मैंने अभी बैठे बैठे सोचा, जब बल रहा था कि कैसे घी के ऊपर आयुर्वेदा, योगा, इनसे कैसे ज्वाइन किया जाए। सो लोगों के इसके बारे में, जो नॉन इंडियंस हैं, उसके दिमाग में उसके बारे अवेयरनेस पता चले ये इंग्रेडिएंट क्या है। अमूल में अगर देखा जाए तो हमने ऑलरेडी आयुष प्रोडक्ट का कोविड से पहले तो कुछ मेमोरी मिल्क वगैरह हमने लॉन्च किए थे, जिसमें हमने ब्रह्मी, शंकर पुष्पा, तुलसी और अश्वगंधा थे। पर अभी ड्यूरिंग कोविड हमने देखा, जब लोग इम्यूनिटी की बात कर रहे थे सब लोग, तो हमने केसर दूध, हनी दूध, जिंजर दूध और अश्वगंधा, इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या नीचे लिखे हुए हैं, आप देख सकते हैं। और डेफिनेटली अभी आपसे बात की अश्विनी जी ने भी, और हल्दी दूध, स्टार एलाइंस और तुलसी दूध। इसके अलावा हनी में भी हमने आगे अभी फ्लोरा बेस्ड हनी लॉन्च करना किया है ताकि लोगों को इसके भी प्रोडक्ट पता चले। और इसके अलावा जो टेस्टी प्रोडक्ट है लोगों को खाना, उसमें आइसक्रीम माना जाए तो आइसक्रीम में हमने इसबगोल और हल्दी आइसक्रीम। तो आपको कहीं कहीं ना कहीं से हम आयुष में पकड़ना चाहते हैं, आप कुछ भी खाएंगे कुछ ना कुछ प्रोडक्ट उसमें मिलेगा। और इसके अलावा चॉकलेट्स में ये प्रोडक्ट भी हमने लॉन्च कर दिया है, जिसमें कि अमूल चोको इम्यूनो उसका नाम है, और तिरंगा की तरह 3 कलर है उसमें, टर्मरिक, जिंजर एंड तुलसी, 3 लोगों को मिक्स को किया है। इसके अलावा प्रोटीन बेस्ड सभी प्रोडक्ट इसी महीने हमने लॉन्च किए, जिसमें क्योंकि आजकल के यूथ को जिम में जाना जाता है, वो प्रोटीन ड्रिंक लेते हैं पर वो टेस्ट नहीं होता। तो लस्सी और बटर मिल्क में एक ग्लास में 15 ग्राम प्रोटीन, और आपको एक दिन में कितना चाहिए, जितना आपका वेट है उसके 1 ग्राम। अगर आप 60 किलो के हैं तो 60, तो एक 25% ऑफ डेली रिक्वायरमेंट कैन बी मेट विद जस्ट अ ग्लास ऑफ दिस थिंग। इसके अलावा जो हमारे प्लान्स में आगे जो हमारा देने का है, हाई प्रोटीन कुकीज है, फिर आइसक्रीम्स हैं, प्रोटीन शेक्स हैं, बाकी प्रोडक्ट्स काफी इसमें आगे आगे देने का है। पर देखिए, ये तो बात हो गई खाने की, पर जो खाना हमारे लाते हैं, दूध लाते हैं, वो हमारे पशु है। काफी बात हुई कि क्या क्या स्कोप है, पर सबसे ज्यादा जो मैं मानता हूं स्कोप भारत में है वो है वेटरनरी मेडिसिन में, एथो वेटरनरी मेडिसिन में। इसके क्या फायदा है कि सबसे पहली बात की, अब अगर आयुर्वेदिक वेटरनरी मेडिसिन यूज करेंगे तो आपके एंटीबायोटिक की क्षमता, उसको मतलब एंटीबायोटिक कम हो जाएंगे दूध में, जो कि सेहत के लिए अच्छे हैं। इसके अलावा जो बीमारियां हैं जैसे मस्टाइटिस है, जिसे 10 से 12% दूध कम हो जाता है, उसकी एक जानवर की जो कीमत है मस्टाइटिस कंट्रोल में 3 से 4 हजार रुपए है, जबकि हमने जो एथनोवेटरी मस्टाइटिस के लिए बनाया उसकी कीमत उससे 1/10 है। 300 से 400 रुपए के पूरे कोर्स में आप ट्रीट कर सकते हैं, और उसके रिजल्ट 80 से 85% है, लाइक अदर एलोपैथी वेटरनरी मेडिसिन। और इसके अलावा दूध में एंटीबायोटिक्स मैंने जैसे बताया कम हो जाते हैं, और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात क्या है कि जो भी उसमें इंग्रेडिएंट्स यूज होते हैं वो गांव में ही होते हैं, आपको बाहर से नहीं लाने पड़ते। तो जो आपका एथनोवेटरी में आप मेडिकेशन में जो भी खर्चा हो रहा है आपके रूरल इकोनॉमी में ही रह रहा है, और इससे किसान भी उत्साहित होंगे कि मेडिसिनल प्लांट की ग्रोथ करें। मैं आपको जस्ट एक हमने पिछले साल का मैं आपको डेटा दे रहा हूं, तकरीबन तकरीबन हमने 2,87 केसेस एथनोवेटरी आयुर्वेदिक वेटरी से हमने ट्रीट किए। और दीज आर द डिफरेंट जो डिसीजेज है, अब देखें तकरीबन तकरीबन 80% तक हमारे को उसमें केसेस सॉल्व हो गए हैं। और जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल दूं, मस्टाइटिस में अगर देखें क्या आप यूज होता है, एलोवेरा तकरीबन 250 ग्राम, टर्मरिक एंड लाइम। हमने हमारी डेयरीज में जहाँ पे ये एथनोवेटरी 2 जगह बनाना शुरू किया, साबर में, और आयुष मंत्रालय के सहयोग से ही, उनका भी सहयोग मिला इसमें, हमने एलोवेरा की खेती शुरू कर दी क्योंकि हमको उसमें मिले। ये मैं आपको प्लांट दिखा रहा हूँ जो अभी ये जो आयुष मंत्रालय के सहयोग से हमने एथनोवेटरी के 2 प्लांट हमारे साबर और कैरा में शुरू किए हैं, और आगे भी बढ़ते जाएंगे। और भी प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, अभी टाइम मेरा हो गया इसलिए मैं दिखाऊंगा कि काफी जो प्रोडक्ट्स, इतना स्कोप है आयुर्वेदिक वेटरनरी में कि हम सोच नहीं सकते, क्योंकि जानवर इसको ज्यादा रिस्पॉन्ड करता है। जब इसके अलावा अभी किसी ने बात की थी कि जो हमारा मिड डे मील होता है, एक बहुत बड़ा गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का प्रोजेक्ट है टेक होम राशन। हमने गुजरात में टेक होम राशन का, क्योंकि रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ गुजरात ने हमने दिया, उसमें हमने कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स लॉन्च किए हैं जिसमें हमने आयुष यूज किया है। जैसे ये बाल शक्ति में हमने विदांगा त्रिकोटो यूज किया है, और मातृ शक्ति में जीरा एंड मस्टर्ड एंड साइप्रस, ये प्रोडक्ट्स हमने यूज किए हैं। अंत में मैं कहूंगा अपॉर्चुनिटीज बहुत है पर चैलेंजेस भी हैं, क्योंकि अभी मार्केट बहुत छोटी है, स्कैटर्ड है, निश है, उसको पहुंचने में, कम्युनिकेट करने में टाइम लगता है, कॉस्ट लगती है, तो उससे प्रोडक्ट की कॉस्ट बढ़ती है। बाकी भारत की मेन पॉपुलेशन लोअर मिडिल क्लास है, तो अगर हम आयुष प्रोडक्ट को जब तक अफोर्डेबल नहीं बनाएंगे, आप अगर उसको प्रीमियम पे बेचेंगे तो प्रोडक्ट 2, 4, 5% ले जाएंगे। तो मास प्रोडक्ट कैसे बनाए ना, वो इंडस्ट्री के लिए चैलेंज है। और इसको ऑनलाइन निश को पहने के कैसे ऑनलाइन कस्टमर तक पहुंचा जाए। और सबसे बड़ा जरूरी है कि आज के यंगस्टर्स, मिलेनियल्स, या जिसको आजकल क्या नई क्लास आई है जेड क्लास के जीनियर, उनको कैसे एड्रेस किया जाए। और एक घी जो हमारे पास ऑलरेडी बास्केट में है, जो लिक्विड गोल्ड है, उसको कैसे वर्ल्ड लेवल पे आयुष प्रोडक्ट बना के प्रमोट किया जाए। धन्यवाद बहुत बहुत।
Thank you for your valuable insights, Mr. Sodhi. It is always a pleasure to hear your views on the sector and Amul's journey. We are all tempted to try these new Amul products. I invite Professor Sanjeev to present a token of appreciation to Shri R.S. Sodhi ji. I would like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Ranjit Puranik, Managing Director, Shri Duta Papeshwar from Mumbai, to share his valuable insights with us.
Yeah, this is the one. Good evening. I have only 10 minutes, and I'll start by uh, getting into the topic right away. Respected Minister of Ayush, Government of Uttar Pradesh, Dayashankar Mishra ji, thank you for sparing your time and gracing this August gathering. We have a lot of expectations of Ayurveda from Uttar Pradesh, and my very good friend and Managing Director Baidyanath, I know him more number of years, but Member of Parliament from Jhansi, Anurag Sharma ji, Vice Chancellor, Deemed University, National Institute of Ayurveda, Dr. Sanjeev Sharma ji, Dr. Vijay, Mr. Bagla. It's indeed a great pleasure to present some of my views in this auditorium, and I'm also honored with the presence of Secretary Ayush as well as Pathak ji, who have graced along with many friends right here. And I would jump into the topic. Friends, I take you to a particular time in 2014, February 2014. This is Modi Saab. That was the time when our Prime Minister today was Chief Minister of Gujarat. And, he was extremely motivating in that entire meeting. And he really displayed a true recognition and an understanding of the potential of Ayush. And he said many things, but he talked about creating a global recognition. He went on to, even at that point of time, outline a particular opportunity for Ayurveda to really bring countries of the world together and probably have something like WHO on its own. And we know exactly what has followed thereafter, what has come about today. And this is again a promise that our Prime Minister leaves us with. And this promise is something that talks about taking Ayurveda, amongst other traditional medicines, uh, to every part of the world. And that's what the entire inauguration yesterday in Jamnagar was all about, and today's extremely electrifying session in the morning was all about. Now, friends, when you talk about our entire sector and you talk about the size, and you listen to Sodhi Saab talk about the size of the food industry, or somebody else spoke about the value of a single modern medicine molecule. going into 33 billion and 35 billion. This is the size that of my industry that has been oft repeated today. But my sector is growing at 17%, estimated to be $23 billion today. And in the medicine portion of herbal market, I'm occupying approximately a 4% market share. The potential is huge in exports. When you see, the data will show you that the Ayush Pharma constitutes around 35.2%. The herbal extracts, standardized herbal extracts exports are around 22%. Nutraceuticals, dietary supplements or health foods, as they may be labeled, another 20%, 22%, and medicinal aromatic plants around 19.9%. This is the gamut of exports. It's not very large, but the potential is very much there. It's known and can be tapped into it. The RIS study also estimates that a very simple growth rate of 15%, which is certainly achievable, the sector size will blossom to 5 lakh crores or $67.57 billion. That is a sizable commerce. That is a huge leap within a period of 8 years for my sector. And this is the kind of growth trajectory that we are all sitting on. This is our address. This is our challenge. Now, all of us in the industry have, of course, seen the COVID pandemic. It starts with panic within the industry because everything, your entire establishment is under lockdown. But then, this is the front foot batting by Ministry of Ayush in close coordination with PMO, as well as I'll give great credit to even Ministry of Commerce, by which we got designated to be an essential industry. Our units opened, and what we did not foresee was something of a boom that all of us experienced. There was no Tulsi in the market. There was no Guduchi available in the market. There was no Amla. Of course, there was not an Amla season, but there was no Amla in the market. But still, products just came out. As an entrepreneur, as a businessman, I was scared to pick up my call because I had doctors on the other side shouting as to what kind of medicine delays are taking place at the factory. The supply chains took a little time, they recovered only after 3 weeks. But this was the kind of energy that my sector had. Of course, Man Ki Baat, Ayush Kada or Kwat, as Prime Minister put it, these were absolute booster injections for us. And my sector did experience the kind of growth that Prime Minister also spoke about. But, Prime Minister speaks very well. He speaks with a very involved tone. He makes us feel very comfortable. We certainly feel very comfortable with him. But you know something? We would have to spring our own legs, our own hands, and we would also have to chart out our own plan. And this kind of sustained growth cannot plateau. If we are aiming for 5 lakh crore sector, $67 billion sector, we would have to do a lot ourselves to take it forward. I have two things to share, which I believe are very essential. One is from the buttressing the demand side of the Ayush sector, and the other one is, of course, the supply side of the entire sector. And the first thing that I talk is making science a very core factorial in acceptance of Ayush. Faith, traditional culture, habit of Ayush is, of course, always there. But this is the time where science has to walk in. Secretary Ayush has always very proudly talked about 29 clinical papers of COVID studies that are ready. I believe they need to be published, they need to be propagated, they need to be popularized, and we really need to get the science right out there to the people, by which they understand whether India suffers with third wave or not, they are better prepared to combat even the third wave. If it ever comes, if it, God forbid, it comes, they are much better prepared with the Ayush intervention. Now, this kind of scientific documentation, this kind of scientific data needs to be brought in. Yes, we do have long-standing clinical experience. We know for a fact Ayush doctors take care of diabetes, arthritis, palliative care, even in cancer. But there is a absolute defining science that's required. By the word defining science, I mean absolute SOPs that have to be declared. And a need to compile them in national dossiers. And these SOPs really need to be propagated. The development of these, this is an opportunity for investment. These SOPs cannot be compiled overnight, but we have 750 colleges. Each college has approximately 60,000 numbers walking in. This is the kind of footfall that the OPD has in each educational campus. You're talking of a captive footfall of around 42 million patients where these SOPs can actually be tried. So whether it's arthritis or it's cancer or palliative care in cancer, whether it's even buttressing anemia, I believe these are the kind of national dossiers which compile all the science, which can make a huge difference because, we don't want pandemics. And we must basically also show the Prime Minister that yes, we have sprung feet. His faith in us, his trust in us is well placed. The trust of society in us is also well placed. So to me, this is something that's very important. What's very important, what emerges is big data that comes out from all this very much data that's there. I have been told to conclude, so I will. The most important part of about getting science and instigating science, initiating science, is going to be about data exclusivity. And we know for a fact that everything in Ayush is in public domain. There cannot be data exclusivity. But somewhere I'm getting the feeling, observing the kind of scientific rigor over the last few decades, that it's not very enthusing if intellectual property cannot be monetized. Even venture capitalists kind of deter from investing if their IP is not going to get monetized. And I think this is something that really is a subject that we need to address. I will take it forward. The mantra actually for R&D coming in from Ayush is R&D which drives business. Generally, in pharmaceutical, it's business that drives R&D. In Ayush, it's not the other way around. We are an established system, and that's the mantra that's very much there. Medicinal plants was the other thing that I wanted to talk about. I will read this mantra for us. In the medicinal market, medicinal plants market, any medicinal plant that comes to the market has to follow this mantra: sustainably sourced from organic certified forests and farms, documentary supporting traceability and legal procurement in full compliance of a fair trade guideline, manufactured to complete satisfaction of current GMPs and consistency defined through quality monographs. This graded, this quality certified medicinal plant is ready for the world. It's absolutely ready for anything that we believe that can really come about. And most important part, I'd imagined that Piyush Goyalji would be here today, and this is the conclusion. I'm sorry, my end has been a little garbled, but there was a very important slide which I will try and get, and this is definitely going back to Madam Nirmala Sitharaman and getting the 4,000 crores. I call it a booster or a starter fuse for the entire medicinal plant sector. And if our sector has to really dream, has to really plan, has to really proceed towards 5 lakh crores. The supply positions of bioresources is something that would need the kind of support. There is an opportunity at every step in medicinal plant. It impacts a large amount of population, most of it in rural India. It impacts entrepreneurship and rural development like probably no other sector can. I do hope my points have been received well, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Puranik, for sharing the need for defining sciences, SOPs, and dossiers, and for data exclusivity. It was very insightful. I now invite Professor Sanjeev to please present a memento as a token of appreciation to Sri Ranjit Puranik. Now I would like to call on the dais Sri Ramesh Juneja, Senior Vice President, Reliance Retail Limited, to deliver his remarks.
Namaskar to everyone. Respected dignitaries on the dais, Agra ji, Ranjit ji, Dr. Vijay, and Dr. Dayashankar ji. I won't take much time. First, like to say thanks to Rajesh ji for inviting me on the dais for sharing my thoughts. When morning I came here, listened, respected Modi Sahab. He clearly showed us the vision of where Ayush can go. And I personally, being part of healthcare industry from more than 2 decades, not Ayush healthcare, but allopathy healthcare, I've seen that we are ignoring certain things. वो कहते हैं ना घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. That's the situation is happening today. But COVID has clearly shown us the way where Ayush can go. Only one statement I'd like to request to the ministry. We need to find out a way. How do we inculcate this thought of Ayush in the young mind? Students who are in 8th, 9th, and 10th, how do we show them the vision to build their career into Ayush segment? I quote my story of my own house. I was talking to my son last year to build his career into Ayush, but he told, no, father, Papa, मुझे doctor बनना है. I told, let's go to Ayush. कहता, no, मुझे doctor बनना है. The youngsters, young students, silly, they are not taking this as an opportunity for their career in future. Until ministry, academia, industry will not come together, will not able to actually and catch the opportunity what we have with us. Thanks to everyone. Thank you, Rajesh, once again. Last request again to the ministry, to think towards the young blood to build this mind. Yes, Ayush is the future. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Sri Ramesh Juneja. I would like to now invite Professor Sanjeev to please present a memento as a token of appreciation to Sri Ramesh Juneja. Next, I would like to call upon Dr. Vijay Chotaivale, in charge Foreign Affairs Department, to give his valuable inputs for this session.
Respected dignitaries on the dais and friends. I will keep it short. I would like to highlight 3 or 4 points. First is, as our respected Prime Minister emphasized today in his morning speech, is that the real growth of Ayush products is because of it is always come from the open source. And for centuries knowledge that has been accumulated, and it is easily and freely available to everyone who is interested in it. And that has actually sown the seed of today's giant developments in the area of Ayush products. It also has an advantage because now, thanks to COVID, there are many aspects that have come for upfront. And mostly there are some low-hanging fruits like wellness products, like cosmetics, and other where the actual prescription is not required, and generally it is assumed and people by experience can tell that these products actually help. The real issue comes when there is a claim of treating or curing a complex disease like diabetes or cancer. And there, I think the bar of quality becomes very important. I have seen that in the market where the products, even for the wellness, that have claimed to be of a wellness products, you will have several varieties and several formulations, and even Ayurvedic practitioners sometimes would tell you that you use same product from brand X rather than brand Y. That means there is no consistency of the quality of the product, or there is no consistency in the composition of the product. And that creates another challenge for Ayurvedic products. Third part is, of course, which is mentioned by previous speakers, is that if everything is in open source, where is the space to create something exclusive, something which can be protected by intellectual property rights, and how to monetize it? And if there is no clear path for this, then actually we are disincentivizing further research. And therefore, I think there is a need to balance having the knowledge platforms at universally accessible, but at the same time, should be some provisions in our policy that the innovations can be monetized to certain extent. Otherwise, we will continue to have products which are based on our traditional knowledge, but no new knowledge will be created. And that will actually hamper the progress in the long run. I think Ayush products have enormous opportunities at both the ends, both at the low-hanging fruits, which I have said, wellness, etc., and also for the treatment of the complex and chronic diseases, which are now increasingly being seen as a psychosomatic diseases rather than purely bodily derangements. And there, the Ayush products, including yoga, has enormous role to play. But again, to prove the concept becomes exceedingly challenging because most of the Ayurvedic trials are open label trials. And that therefore the bar of scrutiny becomes lower than the blinded trials. There is of course other side of it, that Ayurvedic treatment, which is supposed to be highly personalized treatment versus the clinical trials where there are generalized assumptions being taken before designing a trial and before interpreting the results. So again, there is a need to balance these two contradictory aspects. And in spite of having all these constraints, many of you must be aware of a big yoga-based trial on the patients that have been, those had the MI, myocardial infarction, and how the recovery can be helped by giving those patients a very specific yoga protocol. And those results are very encouraging. So there are many such global trials are being conducted using Ayush system, and they are showing very encouraging results. So in nutshell, what I would like to say that there is scope to use the modern technologies, modern approaches to prove clinical concepts and implement it into Ayush products. At the same time, keeping the distinction of Ayush products at its core, and it should not be diluted. The quality and the rigorousness of the quality is the last thing which we would like to lose. If we do this, it will create enormous damage to the entire Ayush system. Of course, there are challenges also. There are people sitting outside who would like to defame Ayush products, Ayurvedic products. There are occasionally research papers, they do come that having some of the Ayurvedic products having very high content of heavy metals, etc. And we need to be prepared to justify whatever we are prescribing with appropriate knowledge, appropriate references, and also appropriate studies. So if we combine these two, I am sure the aim of Prime Minister Modi and his vision, we will be able to bring it to reality, and India will become a great hub and to provide alternative and affordable solutions to many chronic diseases in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chotaiwale. India surely is poised to become the hub for such traditional medicines. I now invite Professor Sanjeev to present a token of appreciation to Sri Vijay Chotaiwale. I now invite Secretary Secretary Ayush Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha ji to please address the gathering.
Baglaji, I'm sorry, I just came in. The dignitaries on the diet, Honorable Minister, and Vijay ji, Ranjit ji, Baglaji, and all the dignitaries, all friends. Actually, this session was very vibrant. We were all listening to all the suggestions, and I want to humbly acknowledge the immense contribution of Invest India, because the CEO of Invest India is actually here. So I specifically wanted to acknowledge, that is why I came. His entire team is here, and they are our knowledge partner, helping us to understand the business and opportunities in Ayush. This is one thing that I wanted to mention. Other few things, very specifically and very shortly, I want to also explain. I will start with विजय जी. विजय जी ने बहुत अच्छा सुझाव दिए. आज सुबह प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अपने एड्रेस में एक बात कही थी जो मैं इसको मेंशन करना चाहता हूं. उन्होंने कहा था कि आयुष मिनिस्ट्री इज वर्किंग विद BIS टू क्रिएट ISO standards for the products. So we actually had a long collaboration with RIS now, and RIS came out with a China paper for Ministry of Ayush. And we understood how they do business. They are doing business by creating ISO standards of their products. So there should not be any compromise on the products and services. And all those things should have ISO standards. That we understood. And that is the route of reaching to 150 plus countries. And Pradhan Mantri ji also mentioned about Ayush mark. So there is already Ayush premium mark, but we want to upgrade it, adding technology and connecting it with ISO standards, so that we have ISO standards with Ayush mark, and we want to reach around the globe with quality benchmarks. So there should not be any compromise. The other thing is, you already mentioned, Vijayji, that there is a problem of double-blind studies into the Ayush sector, but we also had some wonderful examples about the whole system study. There was a publication in Journal of Rheumatology about Ayush intervention in rheumatoid arthritis as compared to methotrexate on a whole system approach in a double-blind placebo-controlled study. And now we are taking this study, this design into next level, We are doing multi-centered, large-scale trial, multi-country trial actually, to take this forward. And such kind of efforts are being put forward. Another thing that Ranjit ji mentioned, 29 publications we have to publish. Actually, as of now, 36 publication is already done, is already published in peer-reviewed journals, and 6 are accepted. So there are 42 in a row, which is already published. So what I am trying to convey is that, yes, sir, all these expertise, what is being, addressed, what is being told here, there is a synergy of thought process. I am happy to share this, that synergy of thought process from the highest level of the leadership to the industry, to the experts, and to the ministry officials. We are all thinking in the same direction from different perspective, and I'm sure that we will definitely achieve the big scores and big goals in different areas: manufacturing, services, education, and so on and so forth. Thank you. And sorry for intervention. I just came in. Thank you. Without any schedule. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have now come to the last part of the session, and it gives me immense pleasure to invite Dr. Daya Shankar Mishra, Honorable Ayush Minister of Uttar Pradesh, to give his concluding remarks.
परमादरणीय श्री दीपक बागला जी, एमडी सीईओ इन्वेस्ट इंडिया, अनुराग शर्मा जी चले गए, अरविंद वर्षावी जी एमडी श्री श्री वो भी चले गए, आरएस सोडी जी मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर अमूल, काशी में भी जस्ट उन्होंने कदम रखा था चंद दिनों पहले, मैं उनका स्वागत करता, इसके पहले वो भी चले गए। मिस्टर रंजीत पुरानिक जी हैं मंच पर, श्री धूत पापेश्वर मुंबई, उत्तर प्रदेश के लिए हमने इनसे आह्वान किया है कि दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा सूबा 25 करोड़ की आबादी आपका इंतजार कर रही है, आप काशी आइए और उत्तर प्रदेश आइए। डॉक्टर विजय जी इंचार्ज फॉरेन अफेयर्स, रमेश जुनेजा जी, प्रोफेसर संजीव शर्मा जी डायरेक्टर एनआईए जयपुर, आयुर्वेद का इंस्टीट्यूट जो एनआईए है वो जयपुर में है। अभी होम्योपैथ के लोग मिले थे, उन्होंने बताया कि वो उनका जो नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट है वो कलकत्ता में है। तो सब लोग उत्तर प्रदेश से बाहर हैं। हम लोगों ने अभी बंटवारे के बाद उत्तरांचल का बंटवारा हुआ तो एक आयुर्वेद का विश्वविद्यालय था, वो भी चला गया हमारे पास से। लेकिन सौभाग्य है कि महायोगी श्री गुरु गोरक्षनाथ जी के नाम पर गोरखपुर में एक बहुत भव्य, आप सब लोगों ने उसकी प्रतिकृति देखा होगा, सुबह जो मेला लगा था, वो विश्वविद्यालय बनने की तरफ अग्रसर है। हमारे पास इस ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड इनोवेशन समिट 2022 में उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार द्वारा वेलनेस टूरिज्म के क्षेत्र में आयुष विभाग के द्वारा किए जा रहे प्रयासों को प्रदर्शित करने का आपके बीच में थोड़ा प्रयास करूंगा। 2,43,290 वर्ग किलोमीटर के दायरे में फैला हुआ प्रदेश पुरातन काल से हिंदू धर्म के साथ साथ बौद्ध धर्म, जैन धर्म की विरासत को अपने आप में समेटे हुए है। माँ गंगा के किनारे स्थित पावन नगरी काशी है, जहाँ के एक बाबा विश्वनाथ के कॉरिडोर की सारे संसार में प्रशंसा हो रही है। सरयू के किनारे प्रभु श्री राम की जन्मस्थली अयोध्या है, जहाँ भव्य श्री राम का मंदिर निर्माण हो रहा है। कुंभ की नगरी प्रयागराज है, जहाँ गंगा जमुना सरस्वती का पावन संगम है। भगवान श्री कृष्ण की जन्मस्थली मथुरा वृंदावन, जहाँ बांके बिहारी जी का धाम है। वृहद जैव विविधता लिए हुए दुधवा नेशनल पार्क, आगरा व लखनऊ जैसे मनोरम टूरिस्ट स्थल हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश के बारे में मैं आपको बताऊं कि आयुष विधा के लगभग 4000 छोटे बड़े चिकित्सालय हैं, 171 राजकीय एवं निजी कॉलेज हैं, 11 सैया के 50 सैया वाले आयुष चिकित्सालय चल रहे हैं। हमने उत्तर प्रदेश में योग और नेचुरोपैथी को बढ़ाने का भी कार्य शुरू किया है। 195 योग वेलनेस सेंटर, 500 आयुष हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर के माध्यम से हम निरंतर योग से स्वस्थ रहने के लिए प्रेरित एवं प्रोत्साहित कर रहे हैं। सब लोगों ने इतना कम समय दिया, इतना कम बोला है कि हमको लग रहा है कि मैं कहीं बहुत ज्यादा न बोलूं आपसे। अभी चंद दिनों पहले उत्तर प्रदेश में सरकार का गठन हुआ और हमारे माननीय यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री जी योगी आदित्यनाथ जी, जिनको हम समझते हैं कितना ऊर्जावान व्यक्ति मिलना शायद समाज में बहुत कठिन है। एक ऐसा विशाल प्रदेश है हमारा, आयुर्वेद की औषधियों की मांग के कारण इसके बाजार के आकार में अभूतपूर्व वृद्धि हुई है। एक अनुमान के अनुसार 960 प्रजातियों के पौधों का उपयोग भारतीय आयुष दवा निर्माताओं द्वारा किया जाता है। भारत में एएसयू दवा उत्पादों के व्यापार का टर्नओवर लगभग 80 बिलियन है, जो विश्व बाजार का मात्र 3% है। 70% निर्यात कच्ची औषधियों का होता है, 30% निर्यात बने हुए प्रोडक्ट जैसे हर्बल एक्सट्रैक्ट के का किया जाता है। सर्वे के अनुसार विश्व का हर्बल मार्केट वर्ष 2021 में $230 बिलियन था, जो कोविड महामारी के आयुर्वेदिक औषधियों के प्रभाव के कारण 8% की अपेक्षा 11.35% की दर से बढ़ा है, जो वर्ष 2028 में $430 बिलियन का हो जाएगा। सब लोगों ने बहुत विस्तृत रूप से आपको बताया कि इंडस्ट्री के लिए कितना स्कोप है, चाहे वो हर्बल दवाओं का बाजार है, चाहे वो कॉस्मेटिक्स का है। तो ऐसे में एक प्रश्न है, नियामक पहलू की बात यह है कि हर्बल औषधियों की गुणवत्ता के प्रश्न पर कच्ची औषधियों के स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन की एक बड़ी समस्या है। आयुष विभाग के अनुसार लगभग 600 हर्बल 52 खनिज तत्वों के आधारित 50 जीव उत्पाद आधारित औषधियां हैं। औषधियों के निर्माण में कच्ची औषधि के उगने से औषधि निर्माण तक के विभिन्न स्तरों पर हैवी मेटल्स की अशुद्धियों के मिलने की संभावना होती है। इसके अतिरिक्त माइक्रोब्स और फंगस की उपस्थिति भी एक आम समस्या है। इसके लिए एकमात्र जीएमपी सर्टिफिकेशन प्राप्त करना एकमात्र साधन नहीं है, समाधान नहीं है। इसके लिए केमिकल फिंगरप्रिंट्स और केमिकल मार्कर आधारित मूल्यांकन ही सर्वोत्तम विकल्प है। आज मोदी जी ने भी कहा सुबह। तो उत्तरांचल के विभाजन के बाद सन 2000 में हिमालयन जड़ी बूटी उत्पाद का एक वैसा विशाल क्षेत्र हमसे अलग हो गया। वर्तमान में मैं आपको बताऊं कि लखीमपुर खीरी, विंध्याचल, चित्रकूट इत्यादि स्थानों पर स्थित वन क्षेत्र कच्ची औषधियों की आपूर्ति का महत्वपूर्ण स्रोत है। वर्तमान सरकार ने प्रदेश में औषधि पौधों की कृषि को प्रोत्साहन देने हो तो औषधि खेती में लगे किसानों को वित्तीय लाभ प्रदान किए जाने हेतु उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य औषधि पादप बोर्ड के माध्यम से कई योजनाएं चलाई हैं। औषधि पादपों की कृषि उच्चतर आय के अवसर प्रदान करने के अतिरिक्त आयुष फार्मेसियों को कच्चा माल की आपूर्ति पूरा करने में सहायक है। सरकार द्वारा उपलब्ध कराई जा रही वित्तीय सहायता से उत्तर प्रदेश के सहारनपुर जनपद में लेमन ग्रास, जिसको आप ज्वारा कुश कहते हैं, हमीरपुर में तुलसी, बुलंदशहर में सहजन, सीतापुर में मंडूक पर्णी के क्लस्टर एपीओ के माध्यम से किसानों द्वारा विकसित किए गए हैं। इस योजना के तहत उत्तर प्रदेश में जड़ी बूटी उत्पादक कृषकों को बाजार उपलब्ध कराए जाने के दृष्टिगत कृषकों और औषधि विनिर्माण इकाइयों के मध्य एमयूयू किया जाना प्रस्तावित है। प्रदेश में नई दवा उत्पादक इकाई स्थापित किए जाने हेतु जीएमपी मानकों को पूरा किया जाना अनिवार्य है। यहाँ लगभग 876 जीएमपी मानक युक्त दवा फार्मेसी संचालित है, जिनमें से 0.4 WHO 4 WHO मानक प्राप्त फार्मेसियां संचालित हैं। प्रदेश में ड्रग कॉस्मेटिक एक्ट 1940 के अंतर्गत दवाओं के उत्पादन एवं गुणवत्ता नियंत्रण का कार्य संपादित किया जा रहा है। ये छोटी सी यात्रा है मेरी। अभी चंद दिनों पहले ही अभी भाई अनुराग शर्मा जी ने कहा कि अभी बहुत चंद दिनों पहले सरकार का गठन हुआ है, कैसे मंत्रालय की जिम्मेदारी मिली है, जिसके बारे में मैं बॉटनी का स्टूडेंट था, एमएससी करने के बाद बॉटनी में पीएचडी करना चाहता था। जीवन के एक मोड़ पर लगा कि आयुर्वेद में करूं। मैंने 6 महीना द्रव्य गुण विभाग में रजिस्ट्रेशन करा के पीएचडी करने के लिए पढ़ाई किया। फिर बाद में मेरा बॉटनी में हो गया तो मैं भाग के चला गया। मैं नहीं समझता था कि जीवन के किसी मोड़ पर आयुष मंत्रालय का काम मिलेगा। सौभाग्यशाली हूँ कि माँ गंगा काशी नगरी से हूँ। दूसरा सौभाग्य ये है कि आज जिनका आह्वान सारी दुनिया के लिए आपने देखा, इस आयुर्वेद के लिए, आयुष के लिए, जिनके कहने पर योगा को सारी दुनिया ने मान लिया। मुझको लगता है कि जो अलख आज यहाँ गांधीनगर से जगी है, ये पूरी दुनिया में इसकी गूंज जाएगी। काशी का हूँ, सौभाग्यशाली हूँ कि आप जानते हैं जिन भगवान धन्वंतरी के, सबको पता होगी ये बात कि उनके जन्म के बारे में 2 कथाएं हैं। एक तो उनका जन्म समुद्र मंथन से हुआ, अमृत कलश लेके आए। एक दूसरा कि महाराज काशी के नरेश के रूप में, दिवोदास उनका नाम था, उनके रूप में काशी में भी उन्होंने जन्म लिया था। तो ऐसी काशी नगरी से फादर ऑफ सर्जरी, जिनको आप कहते हैं महर्षि सुश्रुत का भी जन्म स्थान काशी है, तो उसी काशी से एक अदने से बेटे को, एक अदने से बच्चे को कह लीजिए, एक अदने से भाई को इस महत्वपूर्ण मंत्रालय की जिम्मेदारी मिली है। आपकी अपेक्षाओं पर खरा उतरने का प्रयास करूंगा और आह्वान करता हूं मंच पर उपस्थित जितने भी इंडस्ट्री के जुड़े लोग हैं, जो विद्वज्जन हैं, जो वैज्ञानिक लोग हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश हिंदुस्तान का सबसे बड़ा सूबा आपका इंतजार कर रहा है। निश्चित ही आप सबको आह्वान करके एक दिन बुलाना चाहूंगा। आप सब लोग आइए उत्तर प्रदेश में इंडस्ट्री के लिए। मैं आपको बताऊं कि धान का कटोरा एक पॉकेट है चंदौली, जहाँ के चावल उत्पादन में उसको हम धान का कटोरा कहते हैं। आज वहाँ का ब्लैक राइस, सारी दुनिया के लोगों के बीच उसकी डिमांड बढ़ी है, एक बहुत अच्छी कीमत मिल रही है। तो अब आप वहाँ के किसान ब्लैक राइस का उत्पादन करने में ज्यादा खुशी जताते हैं, उनको अच्छा लगता है, इसलिए कि उनको बढ़िया बाजार मिल रहा है। हमारा आंवला, प्रतापगढ़ आपने सुना होगा कि एक ऐसा जिला है जहां चारों तरफ आपको आंवला के बाग दिखते हैं। अब वो आंवला हिंदुस्तान ही नहीं, सारी दुनिया में जब जा रहा, उसके प्रोडक्ट जा रहे हैं, तो वहाँ के किसानों को लगता है कि हमने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है। तो ऐसा उत्तर प्रदेश है जहाँ के हर जिले में 1 डिस्ट्रिक्ट 1 प्रोडक्ट के तहत बहुत, जैसे जो भी उत्पाद है उनमें खेती भी, हमारी जो औषधियां हैं उनको भी हमने जिलेवार चिन्हित किया है और उनके उत्पादन पर जोर दे रहे हैं। आप लखनऊ या आप उत्तर प्रदेश आएंगे, इंडस्ट्री लगाएंगे तो खुशी होगी। इन्हीं बातों के साथ बहुत बहुत आभार, धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you for your kind words, sir. On behalf of all, I wish to express our gratitude to you for gracing this session with your presence. I now invite Professor Sanjeev to please present a token of appreciation to Dr. Daya Shankar Mishra. And now I would like to invite Professor Sanjeev Mishra, Director, National Institute of Ayurveda, Jaipur, to give his concluding remarks for this session.
धन्यवाद प्रिया जी। सभी को मेरा सायंकालीन नमस्कार। मंच पर आसीन परमादरणीय मंत्री श्री दयाशंकर मिश्रा जी, हमारे सांसद अनुराग शर्मा जी, विजय चौथाईवाला जी, श्री जुनेजा जी, रंजीत पुरानिक जी, RS सोडी जी, दीपक बागला जी और अरविंद वर्चस्वी जी, और मंच से नीचे विराजमान श्रोताओं में हमारे आयुष सचिव भारत सरकार वैद्य राजेश कोटेचा जी, विशेष सचिव आयुष मंत्रालय भारत सरकार हमारे प्रमोद कुमार पाठक जी, हमारे संयुक्त सचिव श्रीमती कविता गर्ग जी, यहाँ मेरे मित्र, बहुत सारे मित्र यहाँ बैठे हैं, नाम लूंगा तो बहुत समय लगेगा। सभी मित्रों को और सभी श्रोताओं को मेरा अभिवादन। अभी हम इस सत्र के समापन पे हैं और सत्र का जो नाम था आयुष ग्लोबल इंडस्ट्री प्रोस्पेक्ट्स इन्वेस्टमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज। एक बहुत बढ़िया ये सत्र हमारा रहा और इस हमारे जो ये जो समिट है इसका मुख्य उद्देश्य भी है यही है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट और इनोवेशन पे हम बात करें। और जब इनोवेशन और इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात आती है तो इंडस्ट्री के बिना वो पूरी नहीं हो सकती है। तो अभी इस सत्र में हमने यहाँ पर इंडस्ट्री से मुख्य रूप से बहुत सारे वक्ताओं को सुना और उसमें क्या क्या आगे संभावनाएं हैं, क्या क्या उसमें समस्याएं हैं, किस तरह से उन समस्याओं को पार पाया जा सकता है, क्या क्या रास्ते हैं, इन सब पे यहाँ पर बखूबी चर्चा हुई। और जो समस्याएं हैं, जो आयुष मंत्रालय या भारत सरकार या जो रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज हैं जिनका समाधान वहाँ पर संभव है, वो भारत सरकार, हमारा मंत्रालय या दूसरी जो रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज हैं हर संभव प्रयास करेंगी, क्योंकि बदलता समय है, बदलता भारत है, उभरता भारत है, स्वावलंबी भारत बनने जा रहा है। ऐसे में सबको अपनी सोच को बदलना होगा, खुलापन लाना होगा। इंडस्ट्री को भी आगे जो नए तरह के आयाम हैं उनमें पदार्पण करना पड़ेगा। और जिस तरह से यहाँ पर विचार व्यक्त किए गए वो निश्चित रूप से वो आगे की संभावनाएं जो हैं उनको संबल प्रदान करते हैं। और उससे निश्चित रूप से हम सिर्फ भारतवर्ष में नहीं अपितु पूरे विश्व भर में इस आयुर्वेद को, आयुर्वेद के उत्पादों को, चाहे वो औषधीय उत्पाद हों, चाहे वो आहार के उत्पाद हों, चाहे सौंदर्य के उत्पाद हों या दूसरे कोई उत्पाद हों, उनको हम पूरे विश्व में एक आयुर्वेद की ब्रांडिंग के रूप में ले जा सकते हैं। ऐसा और उस यही उद्देश्य इस समिट का है। निश्चित रूप से पॉलिसी मेकर्स, रेगुलेटर्स और इंडस्ट्री और एकेडमिया, ये अगर एक सिनर्जी आपस में समन्वय स्थापित करते हैं तो आयुष का और आयुर्वेद का भविष्य निश्चित रूप से उज्जवल है। आप सभी लोगों ने, माननीय वक्ताओं ने अपना कीमती समय यहाँ आने के लिए और इतनी देर तक यहाँ बैठने के लिए, मैं जानता हूँ सभी लोग जो इस सत्र में बैठे हैं, चाहे वो मंच पर हैं चाहे मंचेतर हैं, सभी लोग सुबह से, क्योंकि प्रधानमंत्री महोदय का कार्यक्रम था और सुबह बहुत जल्दी सभी लोग आए हैं और तब से लेकर के अभी तक लगातार कार्यक्रम चल रहे हैं। और अभी तक आप लोगों ने इतने संयम से यहाँ पर ये सारा जो है अपना व्याख्यान दिए हमारे वक्ताओं ने। निश्चित रूप से हम आयुष मंत्रालय की तरफ से, भारत सरकार की तरफ से आप सभी के बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप यहाँ आए, इस मंच की शोभा को बढ़ाया और अपने विचारों से हमें अनुग्रहित किया और हमें बहुत बहुत सारा जो ज्ञान है वो हमें इससे मिला है। मैं अपने सभी श्रोताओं में, जिनमें हमारे सचिव महोदय, विशेष सचिव महोदय, संयुक्त सचिव महोदया और सभी जितने श्रोता हैं यहाँ, उन सभी का भी मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ। मैं जानता हूँ कि ये अंतिम सत्र है और अंतिम सत्र तक इतनी संख्या होना भी अपने आप में एक बड़ी बात है। बहुत बार हमने ऐसे सत्र देखे हैं जहां पर सिर्फ बोलने वाले होते हैं, सुनने में दो चार जो कैमरामैन और ये इतने ही रह जाते हैं। लेकिन इतनी संख्या में आप लोग यहाँ रहे और आपने सुना और निश्चित रूप से ज्ञानवर्धन भी हमारा हुआ, क्योंकि हम सबकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट जरूरी है। अगर आयुष को, आयुर्वेद को आगे लेकर के जाना है तो हम सबकी सहभागिता जरूरी है, तब ही हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। हम सिर्फ इंडस्ट्री पर या सिर्फ एकेडमिक्स पर या सिर्फ रिसर्च पर भरोसा न करके सभी जगह सामंजस्य स्थापित करके आगे हमें बढ़ना होगा। मैं यहाँ जो मंच का संचालन हमारी प्रिया रावत जी कर रही थी उनका भी धन्यवाद करता हूँ। मैं CII का, इन्वेस्ट इंडिया का, ENY का इनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि इन्होंने जितना सहयोग सभी सत्रों के संचालन के लिए और पूरी व्यवस्था में जो किया है, आप लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, क्योंकि आप लोगों के बिना ये जो पूरा कार्यक्रम है ये संभव नहीं था। मैं पुनः आप सभी लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं और शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और कल के सत्रों के लिए आपको सादर आमंत्रित भी करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Before we disperse, two important announcements. We have organized a cultural evening that is for all of you, our esteemed delegates, special guests. I request all of you to proceed to Convention Hall number 1. And the second announcement is that reimbursements for all claims of speakers will be done in business meeting room number 2. I would like to thank esteemed speakers for your valuable time and inputs. It was an honor hosting you all, and I look forward to hosting you at the next edition of the Investor Summit.
With her husband? Yes. And just studying?